I'm 93 years old, and if I could sit across from you right now, look you in the eyes, and tell you just one thing before it's too late, it would be this. Most people don't lose their life all at once. They lose it slowly, through habits they don't even question. I've lived long enough to watch patterns repeat, different people, different stories, but the same endings, over and over again. And what breaks my heart is this: it didn't have to end that way. I had a friend named Betty. We grew up together. Same street, same church, same kind of life. We laughed at the same jokes, cooked the same Sunday meals, buried the same people. But somewhere along the way, our choices started to drift apart. Not big choices, not dramatic ones, small things. What we ate, how we moved, what we ignored. She trusted what the world told her was better. I stayed with what my mother taught me. Simple, real, nothing fancy. Betty didn't make it past 72, and I remember standing there at her funeral, looking at that quiet room, and thinking, this didn't happen suddenly. This was built, day by day, choice by choice. That's when I started paying attention, not just to food, but to people, to habits, to the quiet decisions that seem harmless in the moment. And I began to see the same 7 things again and again. 7 things people keep doing, right up until the moment they wish they hadn't. The first one is this: stop choosing comfort over movement. Now listen carefully, because this one fools almost everyone. Comfort feels like safety, but sometimes comfort is the very thing that slowly takes you apart. I knew a woman named Mary, strong woman, worked hard her whole life, on her feet, moving, lifting, living. She didn't exercise. She just lived in a way that kept her body alive. Then her husband died, and something in her sat down, not because she had to, because she didn't see the point in getting back up. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years. And what shocked me wasn't that she got weaker. It's how fast it happened. Within months, her legs started to thin. Within 2 years, she couldn't walk anymore. Not because of disease, not because of age, because she stopped using them. That's a hard truth. The body doesn't disappear overnight. It responds to what you ask of it, or what you stop asking of it. Mary once told me something I never forgot. She said that wheelchair felt like comfort, like someone was taking care of her. But in reality, it was the thing that was taking her independence away inch by inch. And that's how it happens for most people. Not with a dramatic fall, with small decisions. You sit instead of stand. You ride instead of walk. You rest when your body doesn't actually need rest. And nothing bad happens right away. So you keep doing it. But your body is always paying attention. It adapts to stillness just as quickly as it adapts to movement. At 93, I still stand up without using my hands. I still move every day. Not because I'm stronger than anyone else, but because I never stopped asking my body to work. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You need to stop giving your body reasons to shut down. Because here's the truth, plain and simple. What you don't use, you lose. And once it's gone, getting it back is a much harder road than keeping it in the first place. So if you're sitting there right now, comfortable, thinking, I'll start later, that's the habit I'm talking about. And that's the first thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the next one when you're ready. The second thing you need to stop doing is trusting something just because it says it's good for you. Now I've lived long enough to watch the world change its mind more than once. What was called healthy in one decade gets blamed in the next. And the people who suffer are the ones who never stop to question it. I remember when they told everyone to throw out butter, said it was dangerous, said it would ruin your heart, and in its place, they gave people margarine, bright packaging, big promises, words like heart healthy, printed right on the front. My friend Betty believed it. She switched overnight, cleaned out her kitchen, filled it with those tubs, and felt proud of herself for doing the right thing. My mother didn't. She looked at that container once and said, "I don't know what that is, and I'm not feeding it to my family." She kept cooking the way she always had. Real butter, real food, nothing fancy. She lived to 98. Clear mind, strong body. Now I'm not here to argue with doctors or scientists. I'm telling you what I've seen with my own eyes over nearly a century. The more food got processed, the more people around me got tired, heavier, slower, dependent. Bread that lasts 2 weeks without going stale? That's not how bread used to behave. My grandmother's bread went hard in 2 days. That's how you knew it was real. Now you pick up a loaf, and it's still soft after 10 days. And people don't ask why. They just eat it. Frozen dinners. 3 minutes in the microwave, and you call that a meal. I saw what that did to people. I remember one winter, someone I loved ate those every night for a week. By the end of it, his face was swollen, his hands puffed up, and he was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. 1 week. That's all it took to see the change. And don't even get me started on sugary drinks. That might be the quietest damage of all. Because you don't chew it, your mind doesn't register it. But your body does. Every sip counts. I watched a man slowly lose his energy over the years, falling asleep after dinner, gaining weight, moving less and less. People said, "That's just age." But when those drinks disappeared from his life, his energy came back. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. At 93, I still cook my own meals. Nothing special. Eggs, vegetables, simple things. But I know what's in my food. That's the difference. If I can't recognize it, I don't eat it. That's my rule. And it's kept me on my own 2 feet longer than most people expect. So stop trusting the front of the package. That's where they sell you comfort. Turn it around. Read the back. Ask yourself a simple question. Do I know what this is? Because your body does not care what the label promises. It responds to what you actually give it. And over time, those choices either build you up or quietly wear you down. That's the second thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the third one next, and this one has nothing to do with your body. It lives in your heart. The third thing you need to stop doing is holding on to things you should have let go of years ago. Now this one doesn't show up on your body right away. You won't see it in the mirror. You won't feel it in your legs. But I've seen what it does at the end of a life. And it's heavier than anything you can carry in your hands. I spent years sitting with people in their final days. Quiet rooms, dim lights, the kind of silence that makes a person face themselves, whether they want to or not. And I can tell you this with certainty. The people who struggled the most were not always the sickest. They were the ones carrying something unresolved. I remember a woman, kind, polite, lived what most would call a good life. Church every Sunday, family around her. No scandals, no obvious mistakes. But in her final days, she couldn't rest. She kept reaching out, whispering the same words over and over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Not to us, to someone who wasn't in the room. And you could feel it, that weight, that unfinished conversation, that moment she thought she'd have time to fix, but never did. Now listen carefully, because this is where people get it wrong. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's not about saying what they did was okay. It's about deciding that you are not going to carry that pain all the way to the end of your life. I knew another woman, Dolores. Her own sister had taken money from her, not a small amount, enough to break trust for good. She had every right to stay angry, and for years, she did. But somewhere in her 70s, she made a decision. She picked up the phone and said, I'm done carrying this. She didn't ask for an apology. She didn't demand anything back. She just let it go. And when her time came, it was quiet. No struggle, no apologies whispered into the air. Just peace. I remember checking her breathing more than once because it was so gentle it didn't even feel like an ending. That's not luck. That's what happens when you don't drag old pain into your final days. You see, people think they have time. They think, I'll deal with it later. But later has a way of disappearing. And the longer you hold on to something, the more it becomes part of who you are. It settles into you. It shapes how you think, how you speak, how you carry yourself through the world. And one day, when everything else is stripped away, that may be the only thing left. So if there's someone you need to forgive, do it. If there's something you need to face it. Not because they deserve it, because you deserve to be free of it. Because I've seen what happens when people wait too long, and I wouldn't wish that kind of ending on anyone. That's the third thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the fourth one next. And this one is quieter than all the others, but it may be the most dangerous of them all. The fourth thing you need to stop doing is running from yourself. Now this one is quiet. No one sees it. No one calls you out on it. You can live your whole life this way, and people will say you were busy or productive. But I've seen how it ends. There was a woman I sat with. I won't say her name. She had done everything. Raised children, built a business, volunteered, always moving, always doing something. If there was a quiet moment, she filled it. On the outside, it looked like a full life, but in her final week, something changed. There were no more errands, no more schedules, no more distractions, just silence. And she couldn't bear it. She cried, not from pain, but from fear. She looked at me and said something I will never forget. I don't know who I am without something to do. That stayed with me, because that's what happens when you spend a lifetime avoiding yourself. You fill every empty space so you don't have to sit with your thoughts. You stay busy so you don't have to ask hard questions. You keep moving so you don't have to feel what's underneath. And it works until it doesn't. Because at the end of life, everything gets quiet. There is no television loud enough, No schedule busy enough. No distraction strong enough. It's just you and whatever you've been avoiding. And if you've been avoiding yourself for 50, 60, 70 years, that's a very lonely place to end up. Now let me tell you what I've noticed. The people who faced themselves earlier in life, who learned how to sit in silence, who made peace with who they were, flaws and all, they didn't panic at the end. They were steady, not perfect, not without regrets, but they knew themselves. And there's a kind of strength in that. You don't build that strength at the end. You build it in the quiet moments nobody sees. When you sit alone without reaching for noise. When you think about your life honestly. When you admit what you're proud of and what you're not. Most people don't do that. It's uncomfortable. It's easier to stay busy. But busy can be a hiding place, and hiding has a cost. At 93, I spend time in quiet every day. No radio, no television, just me. Not because I'm lonely, but because I've learned that if you don't make peace with your own company, you'll spend your whole life trying to escape it. So stop running. Stop filling every moment just to avoid being alone with your thoughts. Sit down. Be still. Listen to yourself. You might not like what you hear at first. That's all right. That's where the real work begins. Because the goal isn't to become someone else. It's to finally meet the person you've been living with all along. That's the fourth thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the fifth one next. And this one is the one that keeps people up at night when it's already too late. The fifth thing you need to stop doing is saying, not now, to the people who matter. Now this one hurts, because nobody thinks they're doing anything wrong when they say it. I'll call later. I'm tired today. We'll talk this weekend. Not now. It sounds harmless, but I've sat in enough quiet rooms at the end of life to tell you. Those words add up. I watched it happen more times than I can count. There was a man, good man, hard-working, provided for his family. Did everything he thought he was supposed to do, but he was always busy. His daughter would call, not now. His wife wanted to sit and talk, not now. A friend reached out, we'll catch up later. Always later, always something more important in the moment. And then one day, there was no later left. He was lying in that bed, machines humming softly, room filled with people who loved him. And you could see it in his face, not fear of dying, regret, not for what he did, but for what he kept postponing, conversations that never happened, time that was never given, moments that seemed small back then, but felt enormous now. And here's the part that stays with me. The people he kept saying, not now to, were standing right there. But it was different, because at the end, you don't have the same time, the same strength, the same chance to say things the way you should have when it mattered. You don't get to go back to a normal Tuesday afternoon and do it right. You only get what's left. And sometimes, what's left is very little. I've seen people try to speak, try to fix things in those final hours, but their bodies wouldn't cooperate. Words came out broken, breath was short, and you sit there thinking, this didn't have to be this hard. It could have been a phone call, a visit, 10 minutes at the kitchen table, One honest conversation when there was still time. But life got in the way. Or at least, that's what they told themselves. Now listen to me carefully. Life will always feel busy. There will always be something to do, something to finish, something that feels urgent. But most of it won't matter in the end. People will, always. At 93, I don't remember the busy days. I remember the conversations, the laughter, the apologies, the quiet moments where someone chose to sit with me instead of rushing off to something else. That's what stays. So if there's someone in your life you've been putting off, call them. Not tomorrow, not this weekend, now. If there's something you need to say it while your voice is strong and your time is your own. Because one day, whether you're ready or not, you will run out of later. And when that moment comes, you won't wish you had worked more. You won't wish you had stayed busier. You'll wish you had shown up when it mattered. That's the 5th thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the 6th one next. And this one decides what kind of room you'll be lying in when your time comes. The 6th thing you need to stop doing is living only for yourself. Now don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with taking care of your own life. You should. You have to. But I've seen a difference, a real, undeniable difference, between people who lived only for themselves and people who made room for others along the way. And that difference shows up at the end. I've sat in rooms that felt heavy, quiet in a way that wasn't peaceful, just empty. And I've sat in rooms that felt full, not full of noise, full of something you couldn't quite see, but you could feel it. Gratitude. I remember a man, Earl, lived a simple life, didn't talk much about beliefs or religion, didn't try to impress anyone, but he helped people, quietly, drove a neighbor to the hospital at 2 a.m, fixed things without being asked, sat with people when they were going through hard times, never made a big show of it, just did it. Years went by. Life moved on. And when his time came, something was different in that room. People showed up, not just family, people from years ago, people you wouldn't expect, and even the ones who couldn't be there. You could feel they hadn't forgotten him. That room didn't feel empty. It felt held. And he passed like someone falling asleep. No struggle, no fear, just peace. Now I've seen the opposite too. People who spent their whole lives focused inward, their needs, their problems, their comfort. And when their time came, the room was quiet, not peaceful, just thin. Fewer people, fewer stories, fewer connections holding them in that moment. And I'm not saying this to judge anyone. I'm telling you what I've witnessed again and again. The life you live echoes back to you at the end. Not in money, not in titles, not in things, in people, in the quiet ways you showed up for them when you didn't have to. You see, kindness has a way of traveling. You help someone today, they carry that with them. Years later, they remember. Maybe they say your name. Maybe they whisper a prayer. Maybe they just feel grateful. And somehow, it finds its way back. I can't explain it properly, but I've sat in enough of those rooms to know the difference. At 93, I don't try to do anything grand. I just try to make life a little easier for the people around me. A kind word, a little help. showing up when it would be easier not to. That's it. Because in the end, those small things, they're not small at all. They're what fill the room. So stop living like your life is yours alone. It isn't. It's connected, whether you pay attention to that or not. And the more you give, quietly, without keeping score, the more you build something that will be there for you when you need it most. That's the 6th thing you need to stop doing. I'll tell you the 7th one next. And this one decides the word someone will use when they speak about you at the very end. The 7th thing you need to stop doing is thinking you'll have time to fix it later. Now this one ties everything together, because I've never, not once, sat beside someone at the end of their life who said, "I'm glad I waited." Not once. What I've heard instead are quiet realizations. I thought I had more time. I was going to fix that. I meant to call. I meant to change. Meant to. That's a dangerous place to live your life from. I've kept a small notebook for many years. Nothing fancy, just names. People I sat with at the end. And next to each name, I wrote one word. Just one. Peaceful. Restless. Afraid. Ready. That's all it ever came down to. Not how successful they were. Not how much money they made. Not how impressive their life looked from the outside. Just that one word. And I started noticing something. The people who were peaceful, they didn't wait. They didn't wait to say what needed to be said. They didn't wait to make things right. They didn't wait to take care of themselves. They didn't wait to show up for the people they loved. They handled things while they still had the strength, the time, and the clarity to do it properly. The ones who struggled, they were the ones who lived in later. Later I'll fix it. Later I'll start. Later I'll slow down. Later I'll reach out. And then later, ran out. I remember sitting in my own home one evening, thinking about all those names. And for the first time, I asked myself a hard question. What word is going to be written next to mine? Not what I hope, what I'm earning, because that word isn't decided at the end. It's decided now, in how you live your ordinary days, in the calls you make or don't make, in the care you give your body or neglect, in the way you carry your past, in whether you face yourself or avoid it, in whether you choose people or keep pushing them aside. And it's all being written, quietly, every day. At 93, I don't pray for more time. I pray for something different. I pray that there's no one out there I owe an apology to, no one I left hanging, no one I kept saying not now to one too many times. I pray that I've done enough good, quiet good, the kind no one applauds, that somewhere someone will remember me kindly. That's all. Because in the end, that's what stays. You still have time. That's the truth. But not as much as you think. So don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll get to it later. Later is a promise no one can keep. And one day, whether you're ready or not, you'll arrive at that final moment. And someone will choose a word. Peaceful, restless, afraid, ready. You don't choose that word then. You choose it now. I've told you all 7 things, and I'm telling you this as someone who has seen how stories end. You still have time to change yours.